All right. Hey, hello everyone. Welcome, welcome. All right, we're just going to give a couple of minutes for everyone to come in and we'll get started. It looks like the live stream is working and I am going to share my screen in just a minute. But for those of you who have come in, go ahead and there's a chat button at the bottom where you can just let me know where you are tuning in from. I'd also love to know where you heard about my work. Did you hear about it on the podcast? Did you hear about it, on Facebook, social media, email list? I'd love to know where you're tuning in from and how you heard about me. And there is a little, if you got a little square that has lines on it, that is the chat box. You can just put your ideas in there. And throughout the session today, you can put questions in the chat box. If you're having trouble hearing me, you can put that in the chat box as well. But we are going to get started in just a minute. Welcome, Holly. It's good to see you. Welcome, Tiffany. All right, let's share these slides because I actually have a lot I want to share with you today. So I am going to make sure. Welcome, Connie. I think this is the screen I want to share. Share entire screen. Let me make sure it's sharing the right one. I think so. Okay, there we are. We're sharing the right screen. All right, if you can see my screen, just let me know in the chat if you can see the screen. Hey, Tiffany. Oh, yes. I remember you. Okay, I have a couple of Tiffany's in my group. Okay, I didn't know which one you were. Yes, I did. I sent you a text invitation. It's good to see you again. All right. Okay, I can't see let me get back to the chat here. All right. Okay, so hear me, you can see the slides. We are going to go ahead and jump right in. So we're talking about Beyond the Spark today. We're talking about the 10 elements of chemistry and attraction. This is a brand new masterclass. Now, I've talked about chemistry and attraction so many times. You've heard me talk about it on the podcast. With my clients, have heard me talk about it. But today we are going to deep dive really into all new material about chemistry and attraction because there's just so much that we don't take into consideration when we're dating. So we're going to talk about it today. Um, First of all, you are in the right place if you have been thinking about dating but you worry that there's no one out there for you. Like this information about chemistry and attraction really applies to everyone. If you're thinking about dating, you haven't started dating, you are brand new to dating, but maybe you want to connect with higher quality dates, you want dates where you feel a little more attraction or more interest. If you're seasoned at dating, but you struggle to meet people who match you, so you've been dating a while, you've been out there, you've been putting yourself out there, but like you're just not meeting anyone you are excited about, this is going to be for you. And then if you're in a relationship, maybe you went exclusive with someone, but you're like, was this the right relationship? Does this person and I, do we have anything in common? Is this working? You might be wondering about that. Wherever you are on your dating journey, this masterclass is going to be for you. All right, let me click here. All right, so first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Shade Curry. I'm a life, love, and leadership coach for divorced women. I help women create the life they want after divorce. And I have just done this in so many ways: divorce, dating, repartnering. I've helped women through their divorce. I've helped women heal from their divorce. I've helped women date after a divorce. Um, Emotional healing, the stress and anxiety with career transitions, co-parenting issues, health and wellness. I'm currently working with a client that I'm helping to lose weight, creating an impact project, like all the things. But generally, I work with divorced women. I do work with women who are not divorced as well. That's also been a thing. But I've just really had a heart for women who have gone through that kind of an experience of a breakup because I just know how much it can impact one's life. I have been there. And so that is the core of the work that I do. My work, you'll see it on the internet. I am the host of the Dating After Divorce podcast. We are at right around 130,000 plus downloads last year. And in 2023, the podcast was rated one of the 10 best relationship podcasts by Audible. And you know, some of the people that are on that list, like in 2024, Michelle Obama's podcast was on that list. Idris Elba and his wife are on that list in 2024. And I'm like, oh my God. So the podcast is awesome. If you have not listened to the podcast, you can find it on all of the platforms. So my certification journey, I certified in 2017 as a trauma recovery coach. I have certified as a life and relationship coach with the Life Coach School, as an advanced feminist coach, really deep diving into women's issues and challenges that women have. That's my feminist certification that I got in 2022. And I founded the Dating After Divorce Collective, formerly called the Dating After Divorce Academy, in April of 2021. And I created the Core Values Dating Method, which combines all of my work that I use to help women date after divorce and meet their partners after divorce. I have worked with hundreds of clients in private coaching and in group coaching. And my journey really started with my divorce, which happened in 2015. Got divorced. I'd been married for 17 years. All of the stories, so all of the stories about narcissism, all of the stories about how a high conflict divorce, all the things, right? We won't go into that tonight. So a year later, I had kind of worked on myself and then I started dating, but I was having poor experiences. I was like, all the same things that you guys go through, the ghosting, no attraction, I can't find anyone that I like. This is not working. The dating apps are terrible. I was using dating apps, the anxiety, all of those things. I had poor dating experiences when I first started, but I was also at the same time working on becoming a coach. So as I did my first coaching certification, I was like, oh, I could start to see how my brain was getting in the way, how my mindset was getting in the way. And because I was actively dating, I could see how things that I had been told about relationships, things I believed about dating weren't really true, right? And so I began to really rework my dating journey to the point that I started having better experiences. I started meeting good men. I started having fun. I still hadn't met the person who was for me, but I at least began to enjoy the dating process and I could see how I was going to get to where I wanted to go. And then February 2018, I met my husband Kent on Bumble and we got married in June of 2019. So we are right around 6 years, going on 6 years married now. Right, today's agenda, what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover the 10 elements of attraction, the 10 things that impact your attraction. When you are on a date and you're like, I don't feel any attraction, most people are just like, oh, I don't feel any attraction. Then they just move on, right? There are 10 things that could be happening in that moment. Or you go on a date and you fall in love. You fall head over heels in love with this person, and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm overly attached to this person. I'm really being pulled into a relationship with this person. What's happening? I'm not in control." There are 10 things that could be happening. And so I want to really teach you so that you have awareness of that process, so that you're not pulled into relationships that are not healthy for you, and that you're not overlooking potential partners who might be good for you. So we're going to cover the 10 elements of attraction. I'm going to teach you how to understand your own attraction patterns and then how to dial it up, dial it down, and use it to choose a partner that would be good for you. And then I'm going to show you the entire core values dating method so that you understand where attraction fits in your entire dating journey. And then I'm going to answer your questions. You're going to get coaching from me, and I'm going to answer questions, whatever challenges you're facing on the dating journey. Let's talk about it today. All right. So as we dive in, I want to hear from you. Tell me, what do you want to get out of today's training? Like, what were you hoping to learn? How do you think what you'd learn will impact where you are in your dating journey? So just put that in the chat. What do you want to get out of today's training? And if you're just here to hang out and you're like, oh, because I see a couple of you that are in my program, Connie's in my program, Holly's are in my program. You guys know this stuff. Yeah, if you're here to hang out, feel free to just say, you know what? I just wanted to be here to hang out. So go ahead and pop in the chat what you want to get out of today's training. I want to hear from you guys. All right. So, have you ever heard or thought you can't help who you're attracted to? Like, I can't help it. Or the heart wants what it wants. Or I just fell in love. And even if you haven't said it or thought that, you've heard it in the movies, you've heard people say it, you've heard people say, oh, my intuition is telling me all of those things. It's like this magical situation. Attraction, chemistry feels like you walk into a date and you just don't know what's going to happen. And when it happens, you don't know why it happened. You don't know what's going on. You're like, it just happens, right? I'm just attracted to that person. Now, I want to say one thing about the human brain. Our brain loves shortcuts. They're called heuristics because the brain's job is to keep you safe. It's to help you navigate the world. It blocks out a lot of information. For instance, if you were getting ready to get into your car and drive down the street to the corner store right now, you wouldn't think about most of the things you were going to do. Your keys are probably always in the same spot. You would lock your front door. You wouldn't even think about move the shift, turn the steering wheel. You're not thinking about those things because your brain creates shortcuts for things you do over and over and over again. And one of the things that happens with dating and relationships is the brain is like, I don't want to expend a lot of energy here. I want to create a shortcut. When it says I just wasn't attracted or I just fell in love, it's your brain offers up that kind of thinking because it wants a shortcut. It really doesn't want to sit and reflect. It doesn't want to think about what's happening. It just wants to move along and be in a relationship and have companionship. So if you can understand that about your brain, that it just loves shortcuts, you start to see where your brain has created shortcuts that are not helpful for you. These things are not helpful when you are dating, especially when you're dating after a divorce. It creates a situation where we're working with myths. We're dating, which is a very serious situation, but we're using these shortcuts that our brain has created, which makes you feel out of control of the dating experience. You feel like I don't have any say in the outcome. The connection started exciting, right? And hopeful. It's like, oh my God, I feel the spark. I feel the spark. This must mean he might be the one. And then it ends in disappointment. He ghosts you, he fades away, all of that. And then you're like, well, what happened? I felt the spark at the beginning. How come the spark didn't turn out into a relationship? Your dating queue can often be empty because there's no spark. Like you're looking at the person's photo. I don't feel a spark. I'm looking at his photos. Left, 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 left. And then it's like, well, there's no men out there. There are no men that I'm interested in. And so if you find your queue constantly empty, you might be working with some of these myths and some of these shortcuts. You have a constant anxiety that you're going to settle for someone you don't like, someone you're not attracted to, someone who's ugly, right? Because you might have been hearing from different places, well, don't be too picky. And that sends you the message that you have to settle. You don't have to settle. You might waste time with boring or people who are unattractive to you, truly unattractive to you, because you're hoping that the attraction develops. Because you've also been told, well, sometimes attraction develops, but you don't know how attraction develops or what's developing. Am I in a situation where attraction is going to develop? Am I in a situation where attraction will never develop and then I might fall for this guy? It gets really confusing. And then we suppress all those thoughts and we just keep trial and error, throwing spaghetti at the wall. It feels confusing. You're in that overthinking spin. You second guess if what you feel will last or if you should be feeling what you're feeling. You can feel insecure because you're like, well, if people are looking at me and thinking I'm unattractive, if I'm looking at people and thinking they're unattractive or boring, what if they're looking at me and thinking I'm unattractive and boring, right? And then you get into that spin where it's like, oh my goodness, maybe I'm the unattractive one. Maybe I'm the uninteresting one. That confusion eventually leads to like cynicism and annoyance because of the swing from infatuation with someone that's not great to zero interest with someone who might be good. it's just a whole mess. And if you've ever watched a bunch of like dating videos on the internet, you know that a ton of people are confused about this. And then there's a situation where you do find someone's profile that you like. You're attracted to them, but then they never respond back to you on the apps, right? Or you're like, I met the one attractive man. This is the one guy, and you're holding on to him even though he's treating you poorly. So the whole situation can be confusing when you don't understand the the elements of attraction, when you don't understand your own attraction, when you don't understand how to work with it. The truth about attraction, it is that it is a unique and individual experience. I want you to throw away everything you've been told, everything that you heard in the fairy tales, in the rom-coms. I want you to throw all that stuff away. Most of it will not apply to you. And what applies to you when it comes to chemistry and attraction may not apply to your friend, may not apply to the person who's giving you advice about what to be attracted to and what not to be attracted to. In fact, I have coached women who would force themselves to not be attracted to someone that they felt that their friend would not say was attractive. If their friend would think that that person wasn't cute, then they wouldn't want to date that person because they were trying so hard to choose a person and be attracted to a person that their friends would be impressed with. And all of those things can create so much confusion. So your unique biology, your unique childhood conditioning, the societal narratives, cultural narratives you grew up with, your own personality, your core values, and your own emotional experiences will impact what you are attracted to. But if we're busy looking outside for external validation on what we're supposed to be attracted to, then we may never find out. Here's another truth. You can change your attraction because a lot of it is how you are thinking. You can change your thinking to create attraction to people who are more healthy for you than what you've experienced in the past. And the more knowledge, like you're going to get today, and tools and self-awareness you have, the more control you have over your attraction. And here's a story from my own journey. There's this one guy that I dated. When I met him on the apps, he wasn't very physically attractive. Like looking back, I can see the things that were like, okay, this was probably not going to be a match. But I was like, oh, let me give him a chance. Maybe the attraction will develop, right? And that was fine. It wasn't a problem. He was a safe, decent, respectable, nice guy, right? And so we went on a few dates, and then we actually were a little bit of an intellectual match. We had some really great conversations. We went on a couple of dates that were just fine. And then he used to dance. He was taking dance lessons, and he asked me if I would come to, I think it was West Coast Swing, if I would come to a West Coast Swing lesson with him. And I was like, yes, let's do that. I've never done that before. So we went to this lesson, and then we went to a couple more. And if you've ever done ballroom dancing, you know that it gets there's touch happening, there's the ambience, there's the music. And I remember this, at this one lesson, it was like, oh my God, there was just so much attraction between us, right? That it seemed like, oh my God, this is a person. This might be the right person for me, right? And so then we went on another date, and then maybe I think this might have been our sixth date that we were on, and he picked me up after work. And he had been, I don't know, I think he had either traveled for work or he had gone out of town for work or whatever. So he had come back, so he didn't go home and he hadn't showered or whatever. So he picked me up for a date. And oh my God, the smell. I was like, yikes. And it was, the impact on me was so strong that any attraction that I ever felt to this person disappeared. When I say disappeared forever, disappeared forever. Like I was like, oh no, can't do this. Like I literally had zero desire to go on another date with him ever again. Right. And I knew at that point a little bit about like the biology of dating. I was like, okay, I knew that smell was a huge thing. Pheromones are a thing. And I was like, I can't do this. And really what that did was it reset me back to the beginning when I hadn't had any attraction to him. And so when I look at it now, and I look at that story, what was happening was what you're going to see now in the 10 elements of attraction, which is with this person, almost none of the elements of attraction that are required for me as a person, the things that I see in my partner now, things that I now know about myself, they really were not present with this guy. He wasn't physically attractive, so the aesthetics were not there. He was responsive and attentive, but like we weren't very similar. Like there was just a lot that was missing, which is why I wasn't attracted to him initially. However, when we went dancing, biology kicked in, right? Because of the ambience and the environment and the dancing and the movement and the music. And I felt attracted to him. And then there was the day with the smell, and that kicked biology out the window and reset me completely back to the beginning, right? So if at that point in time, if I hadn't been very self-aware and very attentive to what was happening with me in choosing my partners, that's the kind of situation where you might choose someone who's wrong for you because of the attraction that's present in a particular moment, or you try to hold on to that one moment of attraction, waiting for it to come back again. All right, so let's talk about these elements of attraction, right? One is aesthetics. Everyone has been groomed in their mind to value a certain look. Whatever cultural society you're in, every culture has the beauty standards. And depending on the beauty standards that you've been conditioned with, you're going to be more attracted to that aesthetic than to others. And it's just a way of thinking that has been shaped. The pitfall of that is you can become attracted and almost like addicted to the thought of being with someone who really doesn't exist in a practical way. For instance, in Western society, at least in the United States, where I'm based, I'm actually in the UK right now visiting my sister, but I'm based in the US. There is the societal standard of men who are 6 feet and above. Tall men are the beauty standard for men. But did you know that it's like 6% of men or 10% of men that are that height? It is a very small percentage. Most of us will not marry men who are 6 foot and above. But then 90 something percent of women want a man who is 6 foot and above. So because of that societal conditioning, we've created a no-win situation where in the available pool of men, we've been conditioned to only be attracted to a very small number. And then within that number, how many of them are good, kind men? How many of them are reliable? How many of them have similarities with you? All of the things that you're then looking for. And so it creates this catch-22 where it's like, oh, I have to be attracted to him, but I'm only attracted to this very small fantasy. And he'd better look like Idris Elba or George Clooney too, right? All aesthetics are one of the biggest pitfalls that I see with women who are dating. We over-index on the aesthetics. The second is biology. I've talked about that a little bit. Touch, smell, hormones, where you are in your cycle, in your ovulation can affect that. The environment for people, if you go on too many fancy dates, if you go on too many romantic dates, it can give you the feeling that you are attracted to someone when there's nothing there. You're feeling the ambience, you're feeling the romance of the environment, but there really is there are no additional elements but the environment. And so that can also create a situation where you are attracted to the person based on the environment, but not their character. Reciprocity, we all like people who like us. We all like people that we have an easy rapport with, shared humor and laughter. And this is great. Like, you want that in your relationship. However, if you are dating someone and you're not observing them in a holistic way, there are some people out there who can manipulate almost like a show of reciprocity in the short term, right? They can't, but they can't, if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, they can't hold that forever. And so that's one of the things that I help my clients evaluate for on the long term is, listen, let's evaluate for whether this reciprocity is real, or it's fake. Responsiveness, Um, this one is it's a little different from reciprocity. This is more when you're thinking about being pursued. There's, oh, I hear women talk about this a lot. I want to be pursued. I want to be chosen. We want to be made to feel special. We want to be made to feel validated. And all of us want that. This is a human need. This is a real thing that human beings want. And that's okay to want that and to allow that in your attraction. You want someone who's interested in you. The pitfall of over indexing on that is that it can be manipulated and lead to heartbreak. Agreeableness. We all like people who are agreeable, likable, generous, who have social consideration, who are collaborative in nature. That's always attractive. Often what happens is, if you've been raised, and we'll get down to I think there's the familiarity. If you were raised in a high chaos and family of origin, or you've been surrounded by toxic people, or you're still sort of programmed by your first marriage, a person who is agreeable or likable can seem boring, right? But you do want that agreeableness in the person you're going to be with. Similarity is a huge one. Social psychologists say the relationships that last the longest are the ones that have where the partners have a lot of similarity. The question is, where is the right similarity for you? Right? So people assume, all right, if we have the same education and then we go to the same church and we live in the same neighborhood, we have a lot of similarities, but it might not be the right similarities for you. Right? You could have a person who has the same religion as you, but who doesn't have the same social values as you. And you might be looking more for similarity in social values versus similarity in spirituality. And so this is where the core values dating method comes in. We start with the core values dating blueprint. That's like the very first thing. But then we take that blueprint and we keep applying it throughout the dating journey, in the evaluations, in the relationship gates, the relationship milestones, so that we make sure that the way your core values are being applied is not just like, oh, well, yeah, we went to the same high school, so things should be great. Again, that's our brains looking for that shortcut. So for each person, you have to decide, where do I want similarity, right? Is it in my core values? Is it in my morals? Is it in my vision and behavior? Just a basic similarity can appear good, but it might not be right for you. Scarcity is a big one. This is just so embedded in our lower brain. Whenever something appears to be scarce, or out of reach, it actually motivates us to feel attracted to it, which is so horrible. I'm like, there's something wrong with the design of the brain. This is not helpful. So the more a man sort of like plays with your attention or appears emotionally unavailable, the possibility that you might feel more attracted to that person. This is why you see young girls swooning over celebrities or toxic men. It's because the brain says, oh, this person has a lot of money, they're very attractive, other women like them, and they're not available. Oh my God, they must be high value. And it generates, in the imagination, it generates even more attraction to that person. Right. So scarcity, it's like food. When food is scarce, we're looking for it, right? The human brain is just created that way. And so things like prestige, success, money, aesthetics, the beauty standard, height, all of those things that are rare can seem more desirable. But again, they can overshadow your true core values if you don't examine them and say, what really matters to me? What do I really want? What relationship do I really want? When you do that, your core values come to the surface, and you're able to say, oh, this is what's important to me. Yes, I do feel this pull of attraction to this, but I can see that for me, this is going to be more important. Familiarity is another big one. People who mirror, our brains are almost at this point hardwired to be attracted to people who remind us of our caregivers, your early parents. For some people, it can be your mother. For some people, it could be, I've worked with women for whom the imprint for their partner, for the man that they date, actually came from their mother, right? Or and then for a lot of us, daddy issues, for a lot of people, it's their father, but it can be either one or both. And when you meet someone who feels familiar, they don't feel familiar consciously. It's a subconscious familiarity. It's like, oh, this is easy. I can handle this. Your brain is like, oh yeah, this is the devil we know, right? And so even though that person is being sarcastic or putting you down or competing with you, they still seem subconsciously attractive. And a better experience with someone can seem boring. Right. Now, familiarity is a good element of attraction if you came from a healthy relationship, healthy childhood, or if you've had healthy emotional experiences. So it's not always bad. So again, this is why it's individual. What were your experiences and what experiences made the most impact on you? But if they are unhealthy or toxic, then you want to shift that. Intimacy. When we reveal our hearts, when we reveal our deepest secrets, when we reveal a lot of things about ourselves, it does create an emotional bond with a person. It doesn't matter who the person is, and it will increase attraction and the value of that person to you. The pitfalls, if you share too much too early with the wrong person, or if you let someone in too quickly, you can be manipulated into being attracted to a person without that person being right for you. And then finally, proximity. This is another one that social psychologists found. They're like, if you spend a lot of time with a person, you will eventually be attracted to them. It's just the way it is. You would eventually, some attraction based on familiarity will develop. This is why a lot of relationships start in the workplace. People are just spending hours and hours and hours together. They're developing inside jokes. They're developing like similarities because they're doing all this work all of the time. So proximity is a huge one. So understanding, and I'll talk about this a little later when I talk about one of my clients, people who feel like, oh, I'm just not ready to date, right? You may not be ready to date. So a lot of people that I know who say they're not ready to date won't date intentionally. They won't go on the apps to date intentionally. They won't go to events to meet people intentionally, but they're spending time with people who end up whom they end up developing an attraction to, but those people aren't right for them. So you might find yourself attracted to your neighbor down the street who is not right for you, right? You might find yourself attracted to the cable guy because he's coming all the time or whatever, right? Because you're not dating actively and going to the places where you want to be in proximity with people who might be right for you. All right. Now that you know the 10 elements of attraction, and what I want to say is that you are in control of most of these. Most of these can shift and change, they ebb and flow, and you can take direct control of them. The one that, I'm pretty sure people can take control of it, but I'm not going to recommend it, is your biology. Like, you're just, at a certain level, we are hardwired for certain things. For women going through the cycle, during ovulation, there's just really no way to say, well, I'm just not going to be attracted to anyone during ovulation. You will feel feelings of attraction during ovulation. All you can do is say, I'm just not going to make any relationship choices during ovulation, right? Can't really control that because you are a human being and your body's just going to do what your body's going to do. Your hormones are going to do what they're going to do. Smell, this is a personal belief that you should pay attention to smell. If your partner does not smell good to you, I do not recommend you move forward with that person. I think it's a thing. I really do believe that I believe the scientific studies that say the sense of smell means a lot when it comes to dating. So your biology, I would work with it, but I wouldn't try to change it. But all the other things are within your control. You can decide to change the beauty standard in your own mind from 6'2" men to say, men who are 5'8" are fine too, especially if I'm shorter than 5'8". That's fine. You can begin to change the narrative in your own mind around reciprocity. Instead of feeling like it's boring, feel like, oh, let me check this out. Let me see what this is. And I'm going to show you how to start to make those changes so that you can dial your attraction up to things that are actually healthy for you. So the 3 steps to working with your personal attraction factors are awareness, choice or change, and action and practice. The way I see the 10 elements of attraction is sort of like a soundboard, right? You're a DJ or a podcaster and you want to turn up the bass and turn down the whatever, the crackly effect. Like there's all these things that are happening on the stage at the same time. Turn up this person's microphone, turn that person's microphone down. You have the ability to do that with the right tools and with practice. So let's talk about what it looks like to become aware. Most people I meet are not even aware. They do not have a high sense of awareness of what is happening with their attraction. So that's going to be the very first step. As you date, as you go out into your day, start paying attention to your attraction. What piques your interest? What makes you feel, ooh, that's kind of interesting? Even if you're just watching it on TV, I don't recommend TV much as a way to become aware of attraction, but it can be a way of becoming aware of how you've been conditioned, what you've been conditioned to be attracted to. The TV just isn't real. Things on our screens just not real. I recommend you do this work in like when you go to work, the men at work. Like if a man passes you by and you're like, oh, I feel something, be like, okay, what was that about? Was it about his height? Was it about his behavior? What made me feel that little tickle of attraction? Because that happens. I mean, it happens to all of us all the time, right? But you can start becoming if you go on a date and you're like, I feel no attraction at all. Start asking why, right? Without judging yourself. Don't say, oh, you're bad for feeling attraction or bad for not feeling attraction. So an example is with my client who we were working. This is a private client. We were working one-on-one, and she went on a group travel trip. So it was a co-ed group travel trip overseas. And they were like in some jungles, like they were all like very active events that they were at. And there was one guy there. These were all like fairly wealthy people. They were all like CEOs, CFOs, venture capitalists and things. And so everyone on the trip would have been, in a sense, somewhat compatible with her intellectually and socially. But there's one guy who was very interested, who kept wanting to ask her out. And she was like, so she called me during the trip and was like, there's something about him. There's something about his face. I can't tell what it is. It's just, I don't like this guy, but it doesn't make sense that I'm not attracted to him. And then, so we worked out kind of like, I was like, okay, when next time you're with him or you guys are all at dinner, talk to him and it could be his micro expressions, it could be his aesthetics, like just figure out what is happening with you and what you're paying attention to subconsciously that makes you not attracted to him. So she went on the other dinner and with the group, and she was like, oh, he's got this kind of baby face. She was like, he's got a baby face. I was like, okay, well, that right now that's aesthetics, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. I was like, just talk, find out more about him. So I gave her some questions to ask, mostly to ask about his family, ask about his work, his story, where he was going, just some casual questions. And that was where she hit the jackpot. So when she had a couple of conversations with him on this trip, she was like, oh my God, he's a mama's boy. That was what it was. He's like, he's got this baby face. And when I talked to him about his family, the way he was talking about his mom and his relationship with his mom, she was like, that is a no for me. Like, I want someone who is a lot more assertive and a lot more in control of his life. But it took her really sitting with her, what was happening with her over and over and over again to understand what was happening. Because if it was just about the guy having chubby cheeks, that may not be a reason to dismiss a potential partner who is a match on every other level. However, if the man has chubby cheeks and has a baby face and is a mama's boy, okay, right? And so you can see how sometimes typically what happens with people is that they dismiss it like, well, I'm just not attracted to him. But then because they don't know why, their mind stays with that person. When they go back on the apps and they can't find anyone, they're like, oh, maybe I should have gone out with the guy and ignored the chubby cheeks, right? And so then the next time they meet someone who has like a little bit of a baby face, nothing wrong with a baby face, they're like, okay, fine. The last time I dismissed that guy, maybe this guy with the baby face is okay, right? And then they go into this relationship with someone who's a mama's boy and they find themselves in a relationship that ends in heartbreak. But when you know your why, when you create that awareness, you're making like mature decisions. You're making adult decisions about attraction. So now step two, after creating an awareness, is to decide whether you want to keep that element of attraction or you want to change it by changing your thinking and feeling patterns. So I had one client who, similar situation, she was actually dating after a divorce collective, and she went on this date with this guy, attraction on every level in terms of like compatibility, but she was like, there's no chemistry, there's no physical attraction. We have great conversations. I just don't feel anything when I'm around him. And so I said, hey, I want you to go on 7 dates with this guy, and we're just going to have a conversation and have some feedback to figure out what it was. And eventually she was like, okay, it's because he doesn't work out. So he doesn't have like that energetic mix that I'm looking for. And I was like, okay, at this point now you see it. There's nothing wrong with a person who doesn't work out much or maybe who has some health issues, but the choice is yours. Like you get to choose if you're like, there's enough attraction in all the other 9 areas that this is one that I'm going to overlook, or this is a deal breaker for me, and I really want someone who is very physically active, right? So she made a choice to keep dating and to meet other people. Then I have another client, T, who she really wanted someone who was like an intellectual match in certain areas, especially with personal development and things like that. And she met this guy, great attraction in a lot of the areas, but he just wasn't someone who was interested in personal development, and he didn't approach growth the way she did, and he didn't approach spirituality the way she did. And so that similarity that she was looking for and was very attracted to her was missing. And she made a choice to change her thinking patterns and her desire for that because she wanted a relationship with this man. And they have been in a relationship now over a year, right? So she made the choice and then decided to change her thinking around that. And then finally, when you make the choice, whether you're going to change the way you think or you're going to choose to move on, you have to practice that in the real world. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. You've been thinking a certain way. You've been like, oh, only 6 foot tall men with full heads of hair are attractive. You've been practicing that for, I don't know, 10 years. That's not going to go away in a minute, right? You have to go out into the world and say, okay, oh, that's a guy who's 5'6", who's attractive. You have to go find evidence for all of it. And so those are tools and practices that, I teach my clients so that they can establish themselves in the choice that they make so that their dating journey can be a lot more effective. I have a client who for a long time was only attracted to men if there was like a lot of humor, a lot of banter, but those men also tended to be very emotionally unavailable, and they would string her along for months, and it was just causing constant heartbreak. Then they would ghost her, or they would be like, oh, you're a wonderful person, but I'm not into you, right? She had turned up the flirtiness and the banter and the rapport part of attraction, and wasn't paying attention to any of the other things, agreeableness or availability or mutual reciprocity. And because of that, she was just constantly falling in love and being super attractive and attached to these men. And what we did was, once we created that awareness and she made a choice that this is not healthy, this attraction is not healthy, I need to shift this. She's in the real world dating, and on every date, she's practicing her new thoughts. She's practicing her new choices. She's practicing reminding herself of the attraction factors that she wants to push forward and turn up. And she's doing great. Like, she's like doing great. She's like, okay, I went on this date and I didn't overattach to this guy. And I went on this date and I didn't dismiss this guy because there was no banter. She's taking things at a much more even pace and like a deliberate pace, checking for all the factors every single time. So, anyone remember the man in the upper right photo? Does anyone remember that story? This was a few years ago. Actually, I don't know, it might be more than a few years ago now, but this is a mugshot. This is a mugshot of, I think he was arrested for armed robbery or whatever. Anyway, he's a felon. This is his mugshot. And when his mugshot went public, Women all over the internet were swooning over this guy. They were like, oh, they call him the teardrop felon because he has a tattoo of a teardrop on the side of his eye. And I mean, he went viral for being so hot, right? The element of attraction happening here was just aesthetics. But here's the thing. You can be super attracted to this person, but also know, well, I don't want to date him because he's a felon and he's bad news, right? A lot of women were dialing up their attraction to this guy, probably because they could stay behind their computers and just feel the attraction without actually dating him, right? But that shows you, that is evidence that we can turn our attraction up and down by the way we think. And then there were some of us that were like, he's cute, but you know what? I'm definitely not going to start indulging in those thoughts because I don't want to create, I don't want to create a connection to this person. Or imagine that you met a guy and he was amazing, everything seemed to check out. And then maybe on the third or fourth date, he revealed that one of your deal breakers. He revealed that he was a smoker, or you found out through a background check. And I don't necessarily recommend some of the background checks that people do. I have a different way of helping my clients evaluate. You found out that he was a serial killer. Any attraction you had would disappear because the thought, oh my God, this person is dangerous, would overpower the thoughts of attraction you were having prior to that. Right? So when you want to dial your attraction up and down, one, identify what's happening. I am not attracted to this person because he's 5'6". Is it a healthy reason? For many of you, especially those of you that are shorter than 5'6", that is not a healthy reason, right? Okay, I want to give this person a chance. What thoughts are making me over-index on aesthetics when I want to start checking for reciprocity or compatibility or similarity? You identify those thoughts that you are thinking, and then you choose new thoughts. You dial up the thoughts that help you create more curiosity, more interest in the things you really want in a relationship, and you let go of the thoughts that over-attach to aesthetics or prestige or things that are not as important to you, and then you practice those thought feeling combinations. So that's where the work is. And when you do all of these things, when you apply the 10 elements of attraction, when you practice shifting that thinking, you're going to be so much more confident that you will be attracted to the person who's right for you. So in the chat, so Megan says, I keep running into a belief that someone I'm attracted to will not be attracted to me. That's because you don't understand attraction, right? And you not being able to trust the feeling of attraction because you were attracted to your ex-husband and then felt unattracted to him. So hopefully what we've talked about has helped explain that. Why did that happen? It's because you were over-indexed on one part of attraction and not having a holistic view of attraction. So, these 10 elements are what you're going to use going forward. And what you're going to realize is the same way you need a holistic amount of attraction. Once you create that more holistic view of attraction, you realize that some of the people that you think you're attracted to, you're not going to be attracted to going forward. And the ones you are attracted to going forward will be attracted to you because all of those elements will be there. And I talk about this in the Core Values Dating Blueprint, in the attraction factor in there. That's part of the program. So we delve into how to make sure that you are showing up in the right way to attract the person to you that you are attracted to as well. So yeah, we deal with that in the program. So you're going to build that confidence because okay, I understand attraction. Right? You'll even be able to be like, okay, I want to attract this person. When you do this work, you will be able to turn up parts of yourself that will attract a person because you understand the 10 elements of attraction, right? Use with caution, use to attract good people. But that's the thing. These elements of attraction are not unique I didn't make these up. This is from research. Right? You can go on Google and research elements of attraction. People have different ones, and I researched all of the different studies and I put this together, right? So that's the thing. You can, you'll be able to actually pull people towards you that you want to pull towards you. Kamala says, I'm too good at dialing down attraction. Yes, that is a thing. That is a very real thing. I have had clients who have done that, and that is, they usually have other thoughts that are behind that, that fuel that, usually like um the fear of the commitment or the fear of choosing the wrong person. It's usually something. But you and I are working together. Camilla is also in the collective. So we're going to work on that. We're going to be coaching on that. All right. Let me see the other questions about this before I continue. Holly, men I'm attracted to and interested in me. Yeah, Holly. So you're similar to Megan as well in that situation. And for you, when you had that crazy attraction, what were the thoughts that were fueling that attraction, right? What were you thinking that was dialing up that attraction, even though logically you knew that person wasn't good for you? So you'll start recognizing healthy and unhealthy attraction faster and faster. You'll make more effective dating decisions. You'll meet more compatible people because you're not as confused. You'll know when the person isn't right for you, like the teardrop felon. You'll be like, yeah, he's hot, but I know he's not right, and I'm not going to mess with it, right? And all of that, when you let go of all of that confusion, you will accelerate your journey to your partner. Like you will move a lot faster. I noticed that once I started applying all these coaching principles and mindset principles in my journey, once that started happening in 2017, February 2018, I met my partner. Like because my space was clear, I was clear-minded, my emotions were clear, and I was able to like just make decisions quickly. So I never had like weird guys that weren't great hanging around, and they didn't stress me out when they came out. When they came along, I was like, move them out of the way because I was just so clear. Okay, Holly said, I've been attracted to two men that showed attracted to me. Those starts don't seem good. Well, yes, Holly, there's a lot of factors here that are happening. It's not, you've been attracted to two men, but that's a lot of it is because one, you are one of the people who has been tolerating the people who are not right for you, right? So when a person is not the right person for you for varying factors, you let them hang around too long, right? And so once you move those people out of the way and you understand why those two men were attracted to you, and you like the reasons, because I think we've talked about that. The two men that were, what was it about those men, and are those the people you actually want to be attracted to? So you basically have to create a holistic view of it to truly understand what is happening, to truly understand if the way you're working with your attraction will lead you to a good partner, right? Okay, so let's see, any other questions? Connie, I meet men I could find attractive, but not getting any energy back from them. Right. So that may be something that we have to look at. The challenge with you that, Connie, might be, are you showing up? And if you go to the core values blueprint, Connie's also in my program, so she can get this. If you go into the core values dating blueprint, there's a section when you go further down that you look at your attraction factors. Like, are you putting out the things that match the people that you're attracted to? And we can work on that on a coaching call as well. This says, I realize I'm attracted a lot through familiarity, not a good thing, as my caregivers were not a great template for health. Any suggestions on how to turn that one down? Yes. So really what you have to understand is, what is it about your caregivers that is showing up in your partner? So just go to the caregivers, what has been showing up over and over again. Then you have to identify in your emotions. So the awareness piece, you can't really quite do it in your head. You kind of have to do it in the moment. Like, recognize, and I did this when I was healing from my first marriage. I went back, I was like, what was it that attracted me to my ex? And I kind of walked through the moments, because initially when I first met my ex, I didn't like him initially. It's not interesting. I had met him 3 years before. I didn't like him. He asked me out. I was like, no. And then 3 years later, I was in a different situation, right? And he was very much like my caregivers who were toxic and narcissistic. So what had happened was, initially when we first met, I was in a super confident state. I was like doing well. I had lots of friends. A lot of things were happening that were good for me. And so I wasn't feeling very vulnerable. And I was like, no, I don't like this person because, you're not seeming very serious. And then a few years down the line, I was in a different place. I was a lot more vulnerable. I was sort of cut off from my usual community of support. And so I realized that my attraction is, there was a piece of my attraction based on my family of origin that like wanted to be saved or wanted to feel like I could rely on someone to supply certain things for me or to supply certain strengths for me. And I can find that even as I talk about it, I can connect in my body with that thinking. When I think those thoughts, oh, I remember how that felt to want that. So you need to connect in your body with what it feels like to want whatever is familiar. What are you thinking? And then what are you feeling? That is the awareness. And once you create that thinking, feeling connection that gives you full awareness, then you choose a new set of thoughts. So in my case, it would be something like, I want someone who's going to, maybe these weren't the thoughts, but like I can't quite remember the exact thoughts. It's more of a feeling for me. I want someone who's going to take care of me. I want someone who's going to help me with this. I want someone who's going to work with me on my projects, right? That's probably what, if I were to put it in words, what I was thinking when I picked my ex. So now if I were to do that again, I would change my thoughts to no, I'm going to develop my own capacity to work on my own projects and choose someone who is healthy in all of these areas, like a more holistic way. Because I was over-indexed when I dated my ex, I was over-indexed on having a partner that we would work together and be a power couple and, all of those things from a place of insecurity. But if I had awareness, if I had a coach to coach me, then my coach would have said, no, go work on your insecurities about your work and you being a power couple and being confident, and choose a person for all of these things. And so I would have been thinking more thoughts and practicing more thoughts like, it's my job to take care of myself and my future. And I want a partner who is kind. I want a partner who is collaborative. I want a partner who, these were things that my ex was not. I want a partner who is gentle and, does healthy communication and healthy conflict resolution, things that he was not displaying at that time. I want a person who is a part of a healthy community and is not always leaving one community after another, right? So I would have been dialing up all of the other more healthy things and dialing down the desire inside of me that creates that attraction. So hopefully that's helpful. So what you want to do is find out the feeling, find out the thoughts that attach you to that, the desire, create the alternative desire, and then you want to dial up the new and dial down the new. So you're thinking the new thoughts more and thinking the old thoughts less. Okay, great. I'm so glad that was helpful. All right. That is the teaching portion. Those are the 10 elements of attraction. And that is how to dial it up and down. That is how to become aware of your own patterns so that you can use it more effectively when you're dating. And now I want to really talk to you about the bigger picture of the core values dating method and how to use it to attract the men who match you. And the analogy I like to use for this is a garden hose. For those of you who have a garden and use a garden hose to water it, the maddening, the maddening situation where you have all these kinks, right? All these kinks in here, and you can't get the water out. That's often what dating is like. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this, how the core values dating method will unkink all of the kinks in your dating journey. And then at the end, I'll answer any questions that you have. Thank you, Tiffany, for joining. Absolutely right. You're welcome. All right. So how do I move? Okay. So the core values dating method is really not for anyone who wants to choose a partner quickly. It's not a get married quickly method. Sometimes I have talked to people who are like, well, how long is it going to take for me to meet a partner? And I'm like, the average for my clients is like 4 months, 4 to 6 months, if they move through the whole process. But it's still not like, oh yeah, you're going to get married in 4 months or 6 months. That's not how it works, right? So it's not for you if you're like, oh, I got to get married now. I got to meet a partner now. I'm going to go crazy. It is also not for someone who wants a partner to save them from like their lives. Like, if you're like, okay, I need someone who's gonna come help me pay my bills. I need someone who's gonna take care of me. I need someone who's gonna help me, motivate me to go to the gym, or I have that is not what this method is for either. And it's not for you if you're like, I don't want to change my mindset. I don't want to work on my mind. I don't want to do this kind of work, right? Or I don't want to go out, or I don't want to go on the dating apps. I just kind of want it to happen. If you want to just magically manifest a partner without anything, this is probably not for you. Who it is for is divorced women or women 40 plus. If you enjoy growth and learning and you are ready to grow your dating confidence, you want to meet a partner in a way that feels fun, healthy. Like, you want dating to feel like a normal adulting activity, which is what it is, right? But we have sort of twisted it in a society into this high stakes CIA situation. It's not that. It's just a normal part of adulting. Finding a partner, mixing with people, is just normal. And you're willing to invest just 3 hours a week to consistently learn and practice dating activities. That's really all you need to make this work. I want to show you the core values dating method. I teach the core values dating method inside my private one-on-one coaching and in the Dating After Divorce Collective. And what I teach you to do is create an authentic dating brand. We start that with the core values dating blueprint. That's the first part of the program. It's the itty bitty, just the beginning, right? You have to create an authentic dating brand. And then I teach you how to take that authentic dating brand, your core values dating blueprint, and you start taking it out into the world to attract the partner who matches you. We use it on the dating apps. Then I teach you, because I have a tech background, I have a bit of an understanding of how the algorithms work, how to master the dating app algorithms. Many of you are dating on the apps and you think the problem is the people out there, but the problem is the way you're interacting with the algorithm. That's a lot of what's happening. You haven't even gotten to the people yet, because the way you're using the tech isn't even working for you. I teach you how to confidently date on the apps, how to confidently date in person. We end dating anxiety. We make it fun. With the core values dating method, you start getting second, third, and fourth dates. You will retrain your intuition and learn how to evaluate people accurately. This is one of the biggest ones. One of the biggest causes of heartbreak is not able to evaluate people accurately. We're letting go of people we should be holding on to, and we're holding on to people we should be letting go of, and it's all confused because the attraction and the evaluation and pretty words and all the things, right? I help you straighten all that out. And I help you choose the person who is best for your life and your future, which, again, we start with the core values. We bring your core values through every single step so that you're going exclusive. You're not in this relationship limbo. A lot of people stay in relationship limbo, waiting for something, or with someone who's like, okay, yeah, well, I remember this, not a client, but the woman I was talking to who should have been a client. Her boyfriend told her, I'm going to propose to you in 3 years. I was like, what? He said, what? What is that? Right? We don't do that in here, right? You pick someone who we help you. I help you pick someone who is on the same timeline. Part of compatibility is being on the same relationship timeline as the person, being ready to be exclusive at the same pace. And then I help you nurture that commitment into a new relationship and integrate your lives. So many women have found themselves like in what they thought was a relationship, only to find out that they were like they were a secret girlfriend somewhere to a guy who was married. That doesn't happen to my clients, because we make sure that there is a nurturing of the relationship and you're integrating lives. Like, we're doing double dates, we're meeting family, all of those things are happening. So here's a peek inside the course. I don't know if that's big enough for you to see, but when you join the Dating After Divorce Collective, we have a place for the course library, and these are all of the modules. We have 33 lessons in there, about 12 hours of content, right? That's not counting the coaching calls that we have, right? So this is a little peek inside the program. And what I want to say is, what is possible when you work with me, and I'm going to give you my clients' words in just a minute when they say it, but I want to say it in my own words as well. Like, what's possible when you work with me is developing confidence. Like, you start taking action and getting results in dating instead of this never-ending spin. There's some of you that have been spinning in Friday night loneliness for years now. You want to date, but you can't bring yourself to take action, or you try a little bit of action and you jump out, right? You learn to master dating dynamics. Like you go on there and then something happens and you're like, ah, and then you run off and then you don't date for 3 or 4 months. It's because you don't understand what's happening. You don't understand the situation. When you work with me, you will understand exactly what's happening. So you realize, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. It's not that you're unattractive. It's not that people don't like you. It's that you're not in a process that makes sense. You're not interacting with the dating world in a way that makes sense in 2025, right? You will be able to change your dating identity from unsure and insecure to brilliant, authentic, and lovable. The way you are in every area of your life, you will be able to bring that powerful self of yours to dating as well. You will be able to resolve time management issues. We talk about time management, procrastination, because it comes up. It comes up with dating as well. So that's part of what we resolve in the coaching. And so you're able to enjoy an expansive social life. Some of my clients actually work on their social lives first. They work on building community, the social life, so they're not even just so isolated in the first place. You will put an end to the endless hours of feeling alone when you would love to have someone with you. Like this is the work that I do is life-changing. Because when you meet your person, your life isn't the same. Like it goes from alone and heartbreak and wondering and uncertainty to I have a person. This is my person. I have been with my person for the last 6 years. My life is not the same as before, right? Like it is different. I have a person. It's a very different thing. Now, I will say our society should be more helpful in facilitating this, but it doesn't. So that's why I have a job. Okay. You'll be able to attract partners who match you, who match your core values, who match your brand, who match where you're going. You will be able to maintain your high standards. I never tell women that they're being too picky. That is not a belief that I have. Now, sometimes we're evaluating for things in a way that's not useful. But when a woman is being picky about something, I believe that like there's a reason for it. And what I do in my coaching is I help you figure out, why do I want a guy who's 6'5" with a full head of hair? I have a client who that was her way. And she did get it. She did get that, which is interesting. I'll tell you that story in a minute. But like, why? What are you looking for? There's something underneath. And that's what people don't always help you with. Your aunt and your mom and your friends, they don't help you go deeper to understand what the real desire is so that we can make that desire happen. That's what I do. I take your high standards and help you find a partner that matches the real thing behind those high standards. And sometimes it's the aesthetics, and that's fine too. When you pick a partner, you will be able to protect your assets, your children, by dating in a safe way, by dating safe people. I help you make sure that the people you're dating are safe. They're good people, right? And you stop wasting time dating unhealthy people or manipulative people, emotionally unavailable people. And you will be able to find your partner and get off the dating apps forever, because that is the best feeling. I remember the day Kent and I decided, okay, we're deleting the apps, and we did it together. We screenshotted all our messages and we're been done forever. Every once in a while, I'm on an app again to learn the algorithms and see if they've changed. But other than that, it feels good to be off the apps forever, and that's what I want for you, is for you to be off the apps forever as well. And this is possible when you work with me, when you join the Dating After a Divorce Collective. All right. So you might be thinking, all right, well, I've learned about chemistry and attraction. I know what to do. I should try it on my own. And you can. It is okay to try it. I tried it on my own. I wish that had me to help me. Seriously, it would have been worth every penny. This is my former client, Carolyn. When I met Carolyn, she was 37 and single and had been dating and had broken up from a toxic ex, all of the things. And her words were, I know from being a coach and working coach that if you want a result and if you want it faster, hire a coach. Her goal was to be married and maybe pregnant within the year. And that's exactly what happened. She is actually pregnant with baby number 2 right now. She's married, not only married, pregnant with baby number 2. So it is worth it to go faster. It is worth it to move in a linear fashion towards your goal. Anything I can help you do to move faster towards your goal is going to be better for you than trying it on your own. Or you might be thinking, I just don't think I'll meet anyone. You might have some insecurities. My client B, very insecure. She's actually still quite insecure. Like we text back and forth now. She's still quite an insecure person, which is why you don't have to be perfectly healed. You don't have to be perfectly amazing. You don't have to be a perfect human being to meet your partner. You can be a human and meet your partner if you have a process that helps you meet a partner. She was very insecure. She really didn't believe she would meet anyone. She really hired me on my, like, she was like, I'm just gonna believe you. That's what she said. I'm just gonna believe if you say I can meet someone, then we'll see, right? And she went through a couple of like people that she met that she liked before she met the person that she is with now. So it wasn't like, oh, it was, oh, we went to Amazon and picked a guy off the shelf. It was a journey, right? And her journey took about a year, a lot of it because of her self-esteem and her insecurities, but she did meet the guy. So you might be thinking, I don't think I'll meet, I don't know too many people that are less as insecure as B. So you're probably okay. You will meet someone. There are people, there are good people out there. It just takes a certain process to meet them. You might be thinking, I'm not healed yet, or I'm not over my ex yet. That was exactly Lida. She actually hired me for dating while she said it's because my narcissistic ex keeps coming back and I can't say no. Like she wanted to meet someone new, but her narcissistic ex would always call her, ask her out, and she would always go out, and then he would like dump her again. It was almost like he just wanted to keep her on a leash. And so we did the work, and we can do that work while you're dating or while you are practicing the activities of dating. We can do the emotional work. Lida has now been married. Oh my gosh, probably going on 3 years now that she has been married to her boo and doing well. You might also be thinking it's going to be too hard. I don't believe that I'm just going to be able to change how I am or learn these things or practice dating and all those things. Well, my client Ozzy felt like she felt like she wouldn't be able to stop reacting, or she wouldn't be able to. She was very reactive. She felt like she wasn't sure she could let love in again, and she took her time. We worked together, and she met someone, right? And the reason you think it's too hard and you can't change is because you don't have an emotional imprint of what's possible. That's what she said. She said, I didn't know this kind of love existed. Because you can't conceive of it right now where you are, that's why you think it might be too hard to do this work. It might be too hard to change. Then there's Linda. You might think, you might be like, oh, I'm too old. So my clients, the ones with the anime are the ones where they prefer not for me not to use their photos. So we have the anime pictures to represent them. So it kind of looks like them, but you wouldn't be able to pick them out on the street. So that's why some people have photos and some people have the little anime pictures. It's to just to protect their privacy. They've given me permission to use their testimonial and their first names, but not their photos. So we're doing this. Just an FYI, if anyone was wondering. Linda met her boo worked with me at 63, but we started working together at age 63. And she met her partner within, I think, 4 to 6 months of us working together. And I loved her because she was just like, just tell me exactly what to do. What do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? I'm going to do exactly that. And so working with her was actually quite a joy because she was open to the mindset changes. She was very self-aware and she was ready to do the work. So she was the one who said, I just really want a guy who's 6 foot plus and who has a full head of hair. And I was like, at 60 something, girl, I cannot guarantee that. And the work that we did with that was I said, listen, you get to choose the person. You get to choose who you're attracted to. But I want you to go through the process believing that you will find the person who holistically embodies everything you want. So she dated people who were short because she's actually pretty short. She dated people who were way shorter than 6 feet, right? And when they didn't, she would let them go only if they didn't have the other things that she was looking for, the more holistic things. And lo and behold, the person she picked and was 6 feet, had a full head of hair, and embodied everything she wanted. So it is what it is. Those are the magical moments that can happen when we're open and we just go through the process. You might be worried about picking the wrong person. This is one that I hear all the time. A lot of you are too scared to date because you're worried about ending up with the wrong. You had a traumatic divorce, you had a traumatic marriage, and you just don't want to end up with the wrong person. The safest place to be to not pick the wrong person is in the community, is in the coaching, is in learning how not to pick the wrong person, is in having feedback and accountability and someone to say, okay, but did you check on this? And did you check on that? And what did he do when did he come on the blind date with on the double date with your family? What did he say about this? Using the questions that I give you to ask along the way, using the scenarios that we put together based on your core values so you can make sure the person is right for you, right? And so Tammy has been in a relationship with her guy now, I believe it'll probably be about a year. And that was one of her biggest fears. And I said, what we do is we take all the things you're afraid of and we turn it into requirements. We make sure we test for all those things so that you pick the right person. And some of you are afraid to settle. You're like, you've been encouraged to settle. You've been encouraged to settle. Lee is a nurse anesthetist, and she actually has an episode where she told her story on the podcast where she was like, people had told her to settle for someone who didn't have the same educational background as her, to settle for someone like she was too picky because she was highly educated. I wanted a man who was highly educated and a man who earned about as much as she earned, right? And I was like, no, I don't do that. I don't tell you you're too picky. I help you examine what you're looking for in a holistic way and then design a dating journey that will attract that kind of person to you. So it's not about being too picky. It's about wanting what's best for you. And I am a huge advocate of women doing what is best for them, right? And so one of the things that we also worked on was she wanted someone who matched all of these things, but then she would dismiss them based on their photo. And I'm like, you didn't even find out if he made what you were looking for. You dismissed him already based on his photo. And one of the things she said here was like, her following Shade's advice led me directly to my partner whose profile photos didn't do him justice. So you can see how chemistry and attraction comes into play in the journey. It's not about dating someone who's unattractive. It's about saying, do I know enough to make this decision? And then Ashley, who is one of my more recent clients, was worried that her old patterns would show up, that she would just make the same mistakes over and over, that her old attachments to people would show up over and over. And we worked on boundaries, we worked on being open to people, but also staying in what is the person doing, what are the actions that they're taking, not what are the words that they're saying. Sarah was actually the very first client in the Dating After Divorce Collective, and she has now been married probably about 4 years now. Some of you are thinking that she wait for the kids to grow up. I will say she actually has a special needs daughter. And I said, if you're waiting because of the kids, but not waiting because of yourself, then there's something wrong with that picture. What do you want? And what do your kids need? And let's put together a picture that matches both. So she wanted to date, she wanted a partner, but she also knew that her daughter needed a particular kind of man to be in the home if she was going to be with a partner at all. And we turned all that into requirements. All that became part of her core values brand. And that's what she used to pick her partner. And they have been married about 4 years now, doing great. And similar to me, I was like, I wanted my kids to see a healthy relationship. My kids were teenagers when I was dating, and I wanted them to see a healthy relationship. And so I dated. I just didn't let them meet any of the people I dated until I was sure I had the right person. So Kent was the only person they dated, and they have been able to see our relationship and see that, oh, this is what's possible, and put aside their emotional imprint based on what the toxic relationship I had with their dad. And then some of you are constantly thinking, I'm still not ready to date yet. I'll have a cautionary tale for you. If you do not date intentionally, you put yourself at risk for dating randomly. And that's kind of what Melissa was doing. Melissa is one of my private clients. She was also a part of the Dating After Divorce Collective. She has been with her partner a little over 2 years now. And she didn't date intentionally, but if someone asked her out, she would go out with the person. whoever was kind of like, hers was more of a proximity problem. Someone would be in her proximity and then they would kind of like float together, and they were always the wrong people. So for 12 years, she was like in and out of relationships that were not right for her, giving and giving and giving and giving in these relationships because she wasn't dating intentionally. Those of you who want a partner but think you're not ready to date are the most vulnerable to mediocre relationships, because those mediocre relationships will come, and because you want a partner, you're going to kind of go for it. You want to date intentionally if you ever want a partner. And even if you're truly not ready, like there's a real reason you're not ready, then you want to practice. You want to come into the Dating After Divorce Collective. You want to watch all of the modules. You want to start practicing the prep and the activities. You can apply all of these things, even just to building a social life, building new friendships, so that when you are ready to date, you're good to go. All right. For each of these women who met their partners working with me, and I have other stories, getting coached made all the difference. These are all women who are going to spend tonight snuggled up to their partners and getting coached. Melissa was single for 12 years after her divorce. 12 years is a long time. I'm so glad I didn't wait 12 years. It's a long time. Getting coached makes all of the difference. And so today I want to invite you to come work with me in the Dating After Divorce Collective. And the way it works is we have the Core Values Dating Method Library. So not just the Core Values Dating Blueprint, for those of you who have that, but the entire library, everything that you need to date effectively. You get a 1-year membership where you have access to 100 sessions of coaching with me in the group. Like, we meet twice a week. Most coaching programs, it's once a week and everybody has to share that one call. We do 2 calls a week. We have a call on Wednesdays. We have a call on Sundays. Actually, right after this webinar, I'm going to be jumping into the call. Then there's a private community with the other divorced women where you can get to know them. You can learn from their journeys. Those who are ahead of you, you can get to watch them get coached. All of, like, it's such an immersion in the reality of what's happening in the world. You can sort of like get up to speed with dating, and then they get to be your friends. And then all of my bonus classes are in the Dating After Divorce Collective, the 7-text webinar, my Relationship Gates class, my Relationship Milestones class, and many other classes are all in there. Like, if I were to sell just the library to you and say, hey, buy that and just go do it yourself, that would be a $2,000 value. A single private coaching session with me, depending on the context, can range from $250 for a single session to $400 for a single session. Depends on what we're doing, right? So 100 sessions in a year, $25,000. The private community, like, we all know how hard it is to build community after a divorce. That would be at least a $1,500 value. I would say it's priceless, but and then all the bonus classes, at least a $500 value. I mean, these are just numbers. Like, the 7 texts have literally gotten people the 2nd, 3rd, 4th dates. Like, is that worth $500? So the Dating After Divorce Collective is more than a $29,000 value. And today I'm inviting you to join, not for $29,000, but for $3,000 for a whole year of access. And in the community, like in between the 2 calls, you can post in the community to get coached. I am in there all the time. If you post, I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to be in there answering the question. And that is available to you for just $3,000 for the next 12 months. So I want to invite you to join. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Just take a second to do that. I got to find it first. So I want to invite you to join today. And if you have questions about, like, okay, well, what happens when I join or things like that, I want you to go ahead and you can just pop that in the chat. So if you scroll down in your chat now, the link for you to join the Dating After Divorce Collective is right there. And I want to invite you to join. Just like make the decision. Or if you have questions, you're not sure, like, is it right for me? Go ahead and pop your question in the chat. In the meantime, and you can see these are screenshots from some of our Zoom sessions. So apparently we laugh a lot. Apparently, we have a lot of fun in these Zoom sessions. And then apparently, there are times when I'm wagging my finger at someone in the Zoom sessions. Just so there's a little screenshot, a little screenshot of what it looks like to be coached in our Zoom sessions. All right. I'm waiting for questions from you guys, but in the meantime, the questions that I've gotten so far, like just on different calls, have been, how is the program structured, which I talked about a little bit. You get the course library. If when you come in, because I am there with you, I can kind of tell you exactly where to start. You don't always have to start right from the beginning. Some of you may be further along and may be able to pick up in the middle. We look for the parts of your journey where there are kinks in your hose, and we just fix those, right? We're not trying to get a PhD here. We're just trying to fix the parts of it that are causing your dates and your journey to not be in flow. People have asked if this is a matchmaking program. No, it is not a matchmaking program. This is the collective itself is for women only. I have worked with men in private one-on-one coaching, but there will not be any men in the program. And I do not choose the men for you. What more happens is you learn to be your own matchmaker, which I think is a better value and a better skill. And I'll tell you why. I have had private clients who also had a matchmaker, and they just never, the experience ended up being the same, where they went on, usually would be like 6 dates for like $12,000, like each, they would vet some men. And the only difference with the men in matchmaking and on the apps is that they were guaranteed to be men who had money. Like it was almost like a guarantee, but it didn't make them appropriate. One of my clients ended up meeting like a real narcissist through a matchmaking program. Like it was kind of stressful for her because they don't vet for character. They just vet for like, okay, he has a job and he's got money and you guys have some similar interests. So it's literally the same thing as dating on the apps or dating in person or dating through networking, which is what I teach you. So it's a lot less expensive than matchmaking, and it's about the same pool. It's basically the same pool, but I teach you how to make the pool bigger, whereas a matchmaking program will give you a few dates for a lot of money. How is this different from other dating programs? My program is super different. Very, very different. I base your dating journey based on you. Most other dating programs have a formula. Everyone should be doing this, everyone should be doing that, everyone should be doing this, everyone should be doing that. When you come into the collective, you will see every woman is sort of doing something different. And you're like, oh my goodness, how are they all? Because they're all different. They're all looking for something different. They're all looking for a different kind of man. They're all looking in a different place. And each of them is different. I've had women currently I have women on the far right and women on the far left in the same program. And we actually get along, which is fun. And I have a client looking for deeply conservative man, client looking for extreme liberal man. Not a problem, because every woman's journey is based on them, right? And so that's what makes it different, is because every experience in the Dating After Divorce Collective is different. And so I can guarantee that you'll meet the person that you're looking for because it's based on you. It's why it's called core values. Oh, yeah. So hope your question is actually the next one I was going to do. My divorce isn't final yet. Should I wait? Or how do I go about explaining that to people I want to date? So we would have to get into this a little bit deeper for me to answer it. Like I need to ask you a few questions. I wouldn't explain that to the people you want to date. I actually would not do that, because there's a difference between someone you go on a date with and someone you get ready to marry. Very huge difference. And one of the coaching principles that I teach is to help you sort of dial back the way women have been socialized to give too much information too soon, to be overly conscientious, to feel like they owe people something. So when you go on an app and you're dating and you're meeting someone, you don't owe them all your explanations until a certain point. There's a certain point where things shift from you're just a stranger on an app to you're someone I'm considering dating, And that is the moment that you would do that. So that is something that we would work on inside the collective to find out where that point would be for you after you've done the initial work of like, this is what I'm looking for, this is who I'm looking for. We would have to talk about like, when is your divorce likely to be final? And who is the type of person that you are looking for, right? And then also how to not fall into the pitfall of someone who is only dating you because your divorce isn't final, because that can happen, right? And this is the reason why it's like it's very nuanced. Some people will find out that your divorce isn't final, and because they're not serious about a committed relationship, they're like, oh, perfect. I don't actually have to commit to her. So it's very nuanced. So no, you don't have to wait until your divorce is final to date, but we do have to craft a path for you that accommodates that in a safe way. So yeah, and I highly recommend dating, especially if the divorce is dragging out. I highly recommend learning how to date before your divorce is final, if you know you want a partner, and also dating because it's a normal human activity. It's like there's just so many rules around it that don't make sense. And everyone's rules are different, everyone's path is different. I feel like if you are wanting to date now and you're actually feeling like I'm interested in dating, then there's probably a good reason. So we should talk about that. All right. Next question. What if I'm overwhelmed and I can't keep up? I know everyone is busy. We have got kids, we've got jobs, we've got businesses. So sometimes people worry about joining a program. Well, I don't want to join a program because then I might not be able to do the work. So we do have accountability within the program. I will check in with you. If you're not showing up, I will send you a text. Actually, Camilla got a text from me last week, like, hey girl, where you at? What's happening, right? And so to a certain extent, there is that. And when we identify what is creating the overwhelm or the time management program or the procrastination, and that is what we coach on first. So if you do get overwhelmed and you can't keep up, it's not about forcing yourself to keep up. It's about saying, okay, what's in my life that's causing the problem, bringing that to the coaching call, and then we coach on that, which actually then creates almost like a lot of ease in your life. So it's sort of like a bonus that you can get coached on time management for your life in general so that you can participate in the program. How many people in the program will I get coached? Yes, you will get coached. Yes, you will get coached. The number of people in the program ebbs and flows. People come in and then they meet their partner and they kind of flow out. So I can't really give you a specific number about like, as of, I don't know, our last call, we had 6 people on the call, even though there are more people in the program. So people kind of show up according to their schedules, and it's an open program, so there will be different numbers, but you will get coached if you are serious about doing this and you show up. If there are too many people who want to get coached, then we just kind of stack the calls and say, okay, who you might have to send in your coaching request ahead of time so that we don't spend a lot of time with background on the call, so everybody can get a chance to get coached. All right, do we offer a payment plan? There are payment plan options at that link, offered through third parties. So if you need a payment plan, you will be able to apply for those on the checkout page as well. And then Megan, what if you don't meet someone within the year? Then you have the opportunity to renew, or you have the opportunity to purchase like maybe a single private coaching session to kind of explore what's going on there. But here's the thing about meeting someone within the year. Because we're working together in a year, over a year period, you will know if you're on track or not to meet someone. Again, we're fixing the kinks in the hose. Like, if you're not dating at all, that's the first kink. What's happening? We fix that. Oh, you're dating, you're meeting all these people that aren't great on the apps. Okay, we fix that. Like, any client of mine that you talk to will tell you, we just go step by step. Where's the next kink? And we fix it. So if you're participating in the program, you will know for you where you are at, and you will know if you're on track to meet a good person within a year. Right? I feel like a year is plenty of time with the knowledge that I teach in there to meet someone great. If you don't meet someone within the year, you'll have an idea probably about 3 or 4 months if you're like learning or practicing enough, or you will have an idea and you'll be able to like even fix that problem. If you're like, oh, well, I'm not getting out enough, I'm too busy, I'm not getting out enough at enough social events, Be like, okay, I better get that fixed. If you're on the apps and you're swiping left on everybody and your queue is empty, and then it's been empty for a month, it's like, okay, I'm doing something with the algorithm that isn't working. And then we're able to fix that. So a year is plenty. I would be surprised if you don't meet someone within 6 months that you really enjoy. Sometimes you meet someone that you really, really like they're the perfect person, but then maybe there's like a little kink, and then you might decide, I don't want to commit to that person. So sometimes that happens. So the goal really is for you to create a flow of really good, compatible people. Choosing the one person you want to spend the rest of your life with, that's a bigger question. And that's going to be up to you. So within a year, you're basically guaranteed to meet a bunch of people you could spend the rest of your life with. But choosing one of them is really going to be up to you. You know, you might decide not to choose one of them, which is sometimes that's what happens. Like people meet a bunch of people and they're like, I just don't think this is the person I want to spend, not because they're bad or anything, but they're like, okay, maybe I just want to date this person for a little while. So it's very nuanced. But again, you can renew your membership, you can get a private session, or you can take the knowledge that you've gained and use it. B did that. So she met someone, and when we worked together for a year, she dated him for 2 years, and then eventually decided not to marry him. And then she told me all about it, and she was like, I think I'm just gonna. I was like, hey, do you want to come back into the group and or work with me? She's like, I'm gonna try. I remember everything you told me. I think I'm just gonna try. And literally, she went out there and like met someone in like 6 weeks. So there are a lot of options if you don't meet someone that you want to commit to within a year. And then finally, what if I miss a coaching call? We have the replays. You can watch all of the replays of the coaching calls that you missed. They're right there in the portal. And actually, for those of you that have joined the free webinar space, this call will be right there. I will send an email saying, hey, this is where it is. But like, if you log back in here, you will find that the link, the call will probably be processed in about 30 minutes, and you'll be able to watch it again. Okay, so do we have any other questions? Any other coaching that you wanted? Please go ahead and put it in the chat. Were there any questions? Is there any objection? Like, when I say objections, like worries about joining the program. Like Megan asked one, what if I don't meet a person in a year? That can be like, oh, I don't know if I want to join the program because I might not meet my person in a year, right? But here's the thing. If you don't join the program because you're afraid you're not going to meet your person in a year, and you need the program to meet your person in a year, you've missed the opportunity to move closer to meeting your person. If you don't meet your person within the year, you've lost nothing from where you are right now, where you don't have your person right now, right? The program can only move you closer. It can only make it go faster. It can only move you closer to the result that you want. That's the only thing that can happen, is that you get better at dating, you get faster at dating, you get more confident at dating, you do more dating, you meet more men, you evaluate more. That's the only thing that will happen to you if you join the Dating After Divorce Collective. Nothing bad can happen. I can't make you more single than you are right now. All right. Any other questions? And if any of you, is there anyone who wants to have a call with me to think about whether or not to join? Like, you're like, I'm still not sure I want to join, and I want to have a call with you to talk about it. Just put the word call, and I will post my link for a call down there. If you want to have a private call to talk about whether or not to join. All right, any questions? Otherwise, this has been such a fun call. This has been such a fun session. All right, hope plans to join soon. Absolutely. I look forward to having the consult with you. Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll get you signed up and off to the races with your dating. And then we can talk a little bit about kind of like the divorce dragging out and what to do about that. We can kind of put a game plan together for that. Absolutely. This has been so good. If anyone else would like a call, let me know. I will drop that link in there. Hope booked her consult. So if you'd like a consult call, let me know. All right. You're very welcome, Connie. You're very welcome, Megan. Look for the replay going out by email or in the portal for those of you that joined the portal. Have an amazing rest of your Sunday. I will see you guys next time.